Were there many people downstairs? There?
There's not many people downstairs.
This might be yours. I mean, it's time, isn't it? Haven't been downstairs. I'll leave it open, Moksha. If people want to run away, there's less obstacles. Oh, I'll do that in a moment. Great. Well, welcome everyone. There's probably, presumably, I don't know if you'll need this, but if I can do without this, that's fine. But anyway, it's there. So, also, there's not many of us. So if you can and want to, just kind of get closer. There's more chairs than people. So, also welcome if there's anyone online. That sounds like a great reminder to turn your phone on silence or airplane. I forget to say that kind of stuff, so it's good that a spontaneous reminder. So we'll begin by saluting the shrine. I suspect most of you or all of you know it. We'll do it in call and response, but if you've never done it, just witness it. It's fine. Before we do it, take a moment for bring your awareness to your body, to where you are. Please just make the intention to be present for the next couple of hours in this place with each other, facing, exploring the Dharma. Namo Buddhaya. Namo Buddhaya. Namo Dhammaya. Namo Dhammaya. Namo Sanghaya. Namo Sanghaya. Namo Namah. Namo So, welcome to this series of Teachers of Enlightenment. We are quite far into the series. Which one is this? I don't know, number 8? Yeah, so we've been exploring mainly this image that usually sits, well now it sits at the back of a shrine room, but partially because we've got less technical support, and also I prefer it in the shrine room. I put it there. So we don't have it in projector. People online, you'll have to Google it later, or in other videos. But so yeah, this is the image is called a refuge, the tree of refuge and respect, I believe nowadays, and it represents or it embodies Triratna as a tradition and its place in the history of Buddhism, in a way. This is like our family tree, basically. You have, and today we'll mainly explore the center lotus, which is the Buddha, which is the biggest characters. Obviously, is the Buddha awakening itself, but we'll explore that in a moment. Closest to us is the teachers of the present, including, and right at the front is Sangharakshita, my teacher and founder of this order and movement. And you'll see a hand in a kesa. That is way into our tradition. That's into the lineage of the Buddha. And on either side of the central lotus, we have the Bodhisattvas. I think we explored that last week, or some of them. A couple of weeks ago. I'm not going to talk about them all. On the other side, we have, to our right or to the left of the Buddha, we have the kind of some of the historical disciples of and awakened beings as well from the Buddha's time. And at the back, we have teachers of the past, which we've been exploring some of them on this series. On the top, we have the five Buddhas, or the five jinas, the five conquerors, the five different color Buddhas that we'll explore eventually in another series. And right on top, Bodhisattva, which actually that was the one that we did last week. Now I remember. And today, maybe a bit late to the party, we'll look at the central one. I partially, just offered which one hasn't been offered? Which one shall we explore? That's definitely missing in this series. And the central one was it. My name is Sanghadara. If you don't know me, that's it. That's the introduction you'll get. And I'm Mexican and a bit dyslexic, so my accent, and I mumble sometimes. So if you don't understand, just pull a face of what did you say, or just put your hand up, and I'll try to repeat what I said, if I remember. If I'm paying attention to what I'm saying, I'll do my best to repeat it. Yeah. So I title this this afternoon, Atemporal Awakening. And I want to explore, I might explain what that means later. But let's start with kind of bit didactic, what is what we've seen? Let's start with the obvious on that lotus. So you have, right at the center, the biggest is Buddha Shakyamuni. And this is the Buddha that you would have been introduced to, or we've been talking about, or we usually refer to when we say the Buddha, which means often the historical person, Gautama, sometimes Siddhartha Gautama, Indian man, North India, whose lineage we are part of, and whose time was still living, whose teachings were still explored in a way, 2,500 years on. And we refer to him as Buddha Shakyamuni. Shakya because he was from the caste of warriors. That's what Shakya means. So now the word Buddha, we usually use the word Buddha. It's a title. Is the awakened one, and he's not the only awakened one. Because it is the awakened one, because he represents that he brought about the Dharma. He rediscovered, I suppose, or articulated and communicated the Dharma. So the title Buddha is traditionally is kept to those individuals who brought about to rediscover the Dharma in a time where that wasn't present, where that was obscured, where that wasn't articulated, taught, communicated. Which meant that they had to do a particular amount of effort and had a lot of skills, as they had to tread a path that it wasn't obvious to them, that wasn't culturally communicated or wasn't particularly supported to do that. And you would remember the life, the story of the life of Gautama, where it was presented to, I suppose, with a bunch of obstacles or opportunities to not be fully awakened. You know, from the beginning, from the comforts of the palaces and the protection of his father, kind of the appeal to just be a ruler, be a good Shakya, to just rule the local, to do whatever his father actually did, to just be heir of his family, whatever. He just stepped out of those conditions, went forth into homelessness, excel in the practices and teachings that he was introduced to by the most skilled, if you want, spiritual teachers of his time at that time, to the point of he was offered to co-run or co-lead lead those communities, and still realizing that wasn't full awakening, so he went forth from those situations. The same with extreme asceticism, excelling at those, being famous almost for that, having almost a little following, if you want, stepping beyond that. And even at the seat of enlightenment, seat of awakening, his battles with Mara, where there's other forces that are even non-physical or non-obvious, but quite real for a practitioner. Every kind of effort that is towards awakening and that is met with resistances, with distractions. You have the daughters, sensuality, sensual pleasures. You have fear, anxiety, risks, threat to his life, to his reputation, to his security, everything, every sense of security, or doubts in himself, doubts in his own ability, or how much he kind of deserved, or he was worth, his own self-worth, if you want, or ability to be fully awakened, his own self-security, self-confidence. Everything was in question, and still in the presentation of those, breaking through that obstacle, I suppose, of Mara, and then being fully awakened. This in the seat of awakening. You see, that's the other Vajrasana. I didn't think I would talk about the Vajrasana, but that's where he also is sitting on this lotus. He's sitting this central lotus. It represents the Vajrasana. Vajra is the symbol of reality itself. So it's the seat of reality where awakening takes place. When Mara questions that, who do you think you are to sit in the Vajrasana? Yeah. And, also calls into witness the earth goddess, which we're not going to explore today particularly. But so the Buddha, we keep that title for the person who, discover in its etymological sense. Discover is like to uncover something that was covered and obscurated. They took the obstacles away and found the Vajrasana and brought about awakening and the Dharma into our current timeline, if you want. Yeah. So that's what Buddha represents. Also, it's not just that he managed to discover Vajrasana and be fully awakened himself, he managed to communicate that and to create a Sangha. In fact, that's what some people say, that is perhaps his most valuable attributes of what we kind of should rejoice is his ability to create a Sangha. Because, it's not, that's what we benefited from. If he would have just been awakened for himself, by himself, and not managed to articulate it somehow, he would have been, that wouldn't have passed on. And he wasn't, the point as well, that he wasn't the only awakened one. One, he discovered the Vajrasana, his disciples also eventually, at different times, also became awake. So in a way, he kind of sparkled a new chain of awakened beings. He brought about awakening in other beings. Right? So that's what the title Buddha means. This kind of the first individual that manages to not just discover, to enter, to sit on the Vajrasana, this sit on reality, and brought it about, bringing a new era, if you want, where the Dharma is available, is present. So that's the main central focus, if you want, of our refuge tree. But he's not alone there on the central lotus. On his so on one side we've got the Buddha of the past, Dipankara, and then on the other side the Buddha of the future, Maitreya. So a moment for Dipankara. Dipankara means lamp bearer, he who kind of holds a lamp, and hopefully that speaks in itself. That's anyway. It's a lovely name. I like Dipankara. That's nice. And Dipankara, I believe, is meant to lift, I think, is 4 kalpas, and a kalpa is I don't know. I think it's about 100,000 years or something like that. It's all right. I thought you were going to give me a precise number. It's like, no, yes, it's wrong, Sanghadara. Yeah. So a very long time ago. Yeah. And interestingly, and we know about Dipankara because the Buddha Shakyamuni, so when I will introduce that second Buddha, so I need to be clearer of what Buddha I'm talking about now, right? So Buddha Shakyamuni, the Buddha of the present or current era, refers to the existence of Dipankara from a memory from previous lives. In a life where his name was Sumedha, I believe, a high caste kind of. Well, in that particular life, he was wealthy. I think he was a kind of emperor of sorts, and he was quite into his wealth. But when he met Dipankara, he said, "Oh, one day I want to be a Buddha myself." And actually, I think he cut his hair and offered it to Dipankara to walk on it as a kind of as an offering, and made the aspiration to one day be a Buddha himself. So I suppose in those 4 kalpas, the Dharma would have been obscurated, but Gautama would have made his vows, if you want, Bodhisattva vows at some point, which I'll talk about it in a moment. That eventually kind of came to full fruition in our current timeline. This is Marvel language, if you watch Marvel films. Yep. And also actually, Dipankara is not the Buddha of the past, he's one of the Buddhas of the past. Maybe he's one of the most recent ones, okay, from the past. Or the most recent is the one immediately before him, before Gautama. But I think there's I think there's about 39. Do you know how many? Anyway, I was going to bring the list. 27. Anyway, it's a number that's kind of recognized, and sometimes there's a whole list of the number of Buddhas we have. And I was reading them yesterday, like, can I read them out loud to these people? Because obviously they're all funky names. And anyway, I didn't print it. I would have given it a go if I had printed them, but I didn't. But it's a long list of Buddhas of the past. You know? But it's also the recognition that the Buddha of the present and the past, it's not that the Buddha of the present is the last one. It's a recognition that there's Buddhas to come. And there are suttas where, you know, they already kind of, in a way, we already talk about the Buddha of the future. The Buddha of the future, the Buddha to come, is called Maitreya. And that might sound familiar to you, because it comes from the same root than metta. So it's the Buddha of love. The Buddha of compassion, the Buddha of connection. And interestingly, they all have different mudras. And often Maitreya is pictured walking. Actually, it's kind of, and it has like the mudra of courage, if you want, fearlessness, and I think the other is generosity. But it's also walking both feet on the ground and in the move. And something I found very appealing, I suppose. So appealing, that's not the right word. And it rings truth. Thich Nhat Hanh said that perhaps Buddha Maitreya won't be manifested on a single individual, but in a body of people, in a spiritual community, which is worth reflecting on. Now, so what I think this central lotus is talking about, it's evoking, it's pointing to, is the presence of awakening through in and through time and space, beyond time and space, perhaps in time and space, but not off time and space. It's pointing to the fact, if you want, that as far as there is consciousness in individuals, there is this will, there is this aspiration, there is this pull to wake up, to growth towards the light, to truth, to wisdom, to transcendence, towards the sacred, to liberation from greed, hatred, delusion, from suffering, and the suffering that those cause. And I don't know how to emphasize this. That it is a natural and ever-present, if you want, characteristic of consciousness. That is its desire to wake up. And even in times where there doesn't seem to be a way into awakening, it will find itself. Awakening will find itself. But will find a way of manifesting, of popping up. You may remember the image of the Buddha when he had doubts after his awakening. This Gautama Buddha, Shakyamuni Buddha. When he didn't know if he could communicate his own awakened experience. He had this image of the lotus pond, and saw lotuses on different levels, if you want, or different parts of growing, of going towards the light, somewhere deep down in the mud, somewhere closer to the surface, somewhere like half out, half in, somewhere fully out, but just needed a little bit of extra sunshine or input to fully grow. Just remember a poem. The time came when the risk to remain tight in a bud was more painful than the risk it took to blossom. So, because even then, when you're like a fully bud, there is an element of a risk. There's tightness, and in a moment. So the Buddha realized at this point that, in a way, it wasn't fully his task. There were some people that were closer to awakening that had but little dust in their eyes. I just needed, it didn't need to force and light it open and shine some light. It just needed a little bit of a brush. They needed to be brushed up or something. Okay, did you?
Were you saying the word
But, yeah. B-U-D, yeah. Yeah, my D's and T's are, unfortunately, very close together. Someone can give me classes of how to change that how to articulate properly. That'd be great. Anyway, yes. So I believe these lotus, the central lotus, talking about the truth of the awakening as a constant aspect or a constant potential of consciousness. Now, and this is not talking about consciousness in the abstract and out there. It's talking about our own consciousness, our own anyway, we'll explore this in a bit. But I think the central lotus, I suppose, what is also articulating is the bodhicitta. Now, we don't really explore usually. I don't know why. We don't usually explore bodhicitta in relationship to the refuge tree. But body means awakening, and chitta means heart, mind. Because as you may know, they are not separate in Buddhism. Mind, heart, mind. There are two sides of the same coin. So this is the heart of awakening. So it's talking about the ever-present potential or presence of the mind heart of awakening. So that is at the center of, maybe even at the center of the universe, at the center of existence. Whether it gets manifested, whether it gets fully realized, is another matter, but it's present there. Yeah. And some traditions make more emphasis on this in relationship to our own Buddha nature. I suppose there's three myths around awakening for practitioners. There's the myth of self-development. So you feel like awakening is over there and you just need to kind of grow in that direction. There is the myth of self-transcendence, I suppose. There's just like this habitual greed, hatred, and delusion that we just need to leave behind in order to be fully awakened. And there's also the myth of, I think it's called self-realization or something, which means because awakening is already inside us, that just needs to be fully realized, fully rediscovered, fully embodied. With that little aspect of ourselves, we need to just allow it to take over the whole of ourselves, if you want. Yeah, so which and we might relate with these three different myths at different times of our lives. You know, sometimes awakening might feel very far away from us. And we might, if we are goal-orientated, might help us motivate us to move us in that direction, you know. But if you have a lot of self-doubt on your own ability to go that far, bring your attention to what's already present and take it from there, grow it from there. So some of these myths or methods might be more applicable to you as an individual, but maybe also at different times in your life. And kind of the last thing, because I don't want to talk forever, is placing us in the tradition of being a bodhisattva. Now, body, again, awakening, sattva, being of awakening. And you would hear this word bodhisattva often in like the lotus, for instance, on the left. We should we'll refer to them as bodhisattvas, which are like beings of light, beings of awakening, and they have different colors, different tools, different symbols, different gestures that articulate different aspects of awakening. You know, one perhaps with a flaming sword that represents the cutting, the transformational power of truth itself. You know, one's truth and wisdom has a transformational cutting, destructive and power over ignorance, hatred, and delusion. But there might be other ones with like Tara, which we explored a few weeks ago, which the embodiment of compassion, with a feet down towards the world, and with lotuses that represent growth, and with a hand reaching to offer help, etc. So these beings represent different aspects of awakening. But what I want to refer here is more of us as bodhisattvas. And our aspiration to one day being Buddhas ourselves. Maybe Buddhas more awakened in this life or fully awakened in this life. But maybe even being the Buddha of one era, you know, maybe after Maitreya, or being Maitreya ourselves. So it's about our own potentiality, our own commitment to our aspirations and potential. So you can see bodhisattva not just as a body of awakened being, but could be being awakening, or becoming awakening, or awakened being, or something like that. Yeah. So it's a verb, is an action, or something that we're trying to embody and bring about. So that's why it's at the center of, because this is what we are, this is as a Buddhist, this is what we kind of are mainly relating to or with, I suppose, our own potentiality, our own aspirations. And that what I'm suggesting is that is ever present, and that is that's been an aspect of our experience, a tendency of our own consciousness from the beginning of time, from birth and before. Okay? So this is the main thing I want us to explore in little groups. So we're going to go into groups of three, about three. One, I just want you to question what I said, and hopefully, or share what you relate to or with. So the main areas well, is any of this true? Do you have in your own experience a responsiveness, a desire for awakening? When did you notice that? Or what brought you to, what brought you to the Buddhist Center? What draws you around awakening, And what's your relationship with awakening? Does it feel far away? Does it just feel like an untapped potential? What's your own relationship with awakening? What does that mean? If it's awakening, if that feels too big and grand, what's your own desire for growth? Growth towards wisdom, towards the realization of truth, transcendence, liberation from suffering, transcending greed, hatred, and delusion. So from all this list, or maybe other things that I haven't said, just share that with each other. So we'll do that for half an hour. Give us good time. Within that half an hour, you could go and get some tea. So we'll do like a little plenary, and we'll do a little meditation and maybe a little ritual at the end, depending on how we go. A little meditation. So the idea is to get back. We'll start our plenary and at 3:20. Okay? So I suggest you to maybe go into threes right now, just so you know who's or at least three, just so you know who's your trio, and then you can decide whether to get tea now or towards the end. That's up to you. Okay? So back for 3:20. No, 3:10, sorry. 3:10, sorry, yeah. You okay?
Yeah, a bit tired.
Yeah.
No, they look actually like good. Or that and just colors.
And I think that really creates a foundation. Yeah, that was all about it. Yeah, some people come as good as they go, and then they need to do this. So it's just sort of. She never came up with
I think I said 2 times, didn't I? What time did you think we were coming back up? I think originally I said 20 past, which we meant 40 minutes. Anyway, once people get back, it's fine. But then I realized that's 40 minutes, not half an hour, so I made my maths wrong. Yeah. No. No, I went to read a puja, considering doing, but I'm not doing it. It's a new puja. Too risky. Do, 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 do. And I had a bit of chocolate. I didn't have enough to go around, really. I usually have one chocolate bar on my drawer, and it lasts me like 2 weeks. I just like just one little square. And it shocks me when I share it that it's just like it's gone like that, or like someone just it's half of it. I'm like, that's like a week's worth of my chocolate. Like 2-3 weeks. Yeah, I'm not. That's right, unless there's someone else there. Like I like chocolate, but obviously not so much into chocolate as other people. This might be us back. If you, one more person. Okay, cool. Don't like this. So I suppose in summary, what I've tried to evoke or more than suggest is that at the center of our tree is this natural and almost ever-present responsiveness or desire to awakening. And that's what bodhicitta means, a will to awakening. It's more like sometimes we might not be in touch with it, that might be obscurated, sometimes that gets more sparked up, if you want, or is clearer, or takes more over us. That's my, I guess it's 2 things, I suppose. I'm suggesting that that's what this is pointing to. Its existence. And my question to you was, is that your experience? How much of that is your experience? So kind of, my hypothesis is that we all have a desire for growth and awakening. And I'd just love to hear if any of that, or what came up on your little groups, if that came across, if you relate to that, and there might be other questions or things that might pop up. yeah, I'd love to hear what you think. Yeah? Sure, I might give you a mic. Oh, gosh. Well, it would be easier with a mic. Yeah, it's fine. It's better for you as well.
So is the desire to become a better person, if that is what you want, that is good enough? Or do we all have to... I do believe everybody will get enlightenment at some point. I believe that. I believe we've all got that Buddha nature. But at the moment, I want to improve my mindfulness and be a better person, kinda.
Yeah? Yeah?
Is that enough? Or do we all have to aim for enlightenment? Is that us?
Is that enough? I'll repeat that for you. Just asking if that there is currently, at least I suspect your relationship, you experience a bit more natural desire to just be a better person, have a more developed consciousness, a more loving, more compassionate, wiser. And you also said you believe that actually everyone will wake up fully one day. Yeah. But also another question also was like, is that enough? Yeah.
Is it enough just to desire to be a better person,
Yeah.
rather than desiring to become enlightened?
Yeah. The question is that if it's good enough to desire just be a better person, and not quite desire to be fully awakened or believe that that's just to desire that. Yeah. Well, I think it's definitely good. You know, there's I mean, good enough is kind of very loaded. Sounds pretty loaded, isn't it? Like if I would say, no, it's not good enough, what would that mean? Well, the effect of that would be. I think it is good, and there is gooder or better. You know, sometimes Sangharakshita, my teacher, says like the best, the good is the enemy of the best. Though that doesn't mean that the good is not good. You know, it is good. I guess what it's also pointing to, like it is good if anyone wants to develop themselves. That is great. That's good for them. Potentially good for the world, I suppose. Well, I guess what is trying to, particularly on the Refuge Tree and our imagery, our focus tends to be on the highest ideal, in a way. To focus on the highest ideal doesn't mean that other values and ideals are not worth exploring or responding to. You know, they definitely are. Yeah, but it's also kind of it's trying to point to that there's always further horizons. You know, and even in awakening itself, it's almost like even fully realized awakened being, fully wise, fully compassionate, be free from greed, hatred, and delusion. Even that, as lofty and as far as it seems, is a horizon that might have further horizons. You know? But that comes as far as probably we can get it. But, you know, whatever... what am I saying? I think it is good, and there is even higher, but there is even better ideals, but whatever is good stuff is good. Per se. Moksha, sorry, do you want to say something? Yeah.
Can I respond to
Yeah, please do, yeah.
question? Because for me,
I'm Moksha Suri. I can relate to what you're saying because when I first came to Buddhism, I just wanted to be rid of a lot of suffering that I was experiencing. And I was attracted to Buddhism because everything I read and experienced was helping me with that. I had no aspiration for enlightenment. In fact, there was probably a rejection of it because I came from what would I say, a non-religious background, a sceptical, atheistic background. So for me, I struggled with that a bit. So for me, having that aspiration was really positive because it helped me engage and it helped me connect with the Dharma. And that's changed. You know, it changes as I've experienced more, as I've practiced more, as I've seen things emerge from my practice that help me feel more free. I actually believe now that it's a possibility that I can be awakened. Maybe not in this lifetime, maybe in a future lifetime. But it's, for me, I wouldn't have started this journey if I'd had to have believed in attaining that. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So that's just my response. So I agree with you as well. It's good, but there's probably the best as well.
Yeah.
But it was a way in. And actually, if somebody had said, oh, you must aspire for enlightenment, it probably would have turned me off. So,
Yeah. I guess Yeah. Because it's also this image. That's probably why I shared what Thich Nhat Hanh said around the Buddha of the future. Maitreya might not be a single individual; it may be a body of people. Because it's that, and actually, we talk in relationship to our order, for instance. Our order being trying to be a manifestation of Avalokiteshvara. Avalokiteshvara is this like the tanka, the image I've got right behind me, with 1,000 arms. So it's one being which has a bodhicitta at their heart, and 1,000 arms with different symbols, different tools that reach, and with an eye as well in each hand, with wisdom that kind of reaches to help different beings. And each hand is different, but they're part of that body being. And Sangharakshita, again, our founder teacher, he talks of the orders like trying to be like Avalokiteshvara. We're still very much, as an order, we're a body of people. And we don't need to be the whole being. I don't need to have all of them skills, you know. But I could be a hand with my particular set of skills and shapes and temperaments, but also responsiveness into the world. So we are, as an order, actually, we try to be a bodhisattva, you know. As an individuals, we also take somewhat our own bodhisattva vows. You know, when we join the order, we say, for the attainment of awakening, for the benefit of all beings, with loyalty with the teachers. And what's the other one? Yeah. In harmony with our brothers and sisters in the Sangha. So, but yeah, the main two, you know, for the attainment of enlightenment, for full awakening, and for the benefit of all beings. That's our bodhisattva intentions, our aspirations. So we are not in it just for ourselves. We are in it for the benefit of all beings. So, yeah, so I think that's also a different way of engaging with it. You know, like, I want to be, well, at least that's how I engage, I suppose, as an order member. Like, I try to being part of an order, being part of a movement, is trying to be a part of a force for good in the world. So, and within that, I just an arm, and I'm trying to get better whatever tool I'm holding, you know. But definitely to see it to see myself as the Buddha, you know, the one that will be, you know, seated in the Vajrasana in the time of darkness. That's a lot more lofty. also, and it would definitely, and also I don't need to do it right now because we're still under the realm of Shakyamuni Buddha. So in a way, I don't need to bring about the Dharma from scratch because we've got it. So that's something. That's not my concern for this lifetime. It's just actually keeping this particular lamp going. And if I don't manage to be fully realized this lifetime, sounds great that I could be the Buddha in a few kalpas. But in this one, and even if the one immediately after this is not just one single individual, but it's a body of people, like an order of movement, that sounds like a good middle way. That sounds a bit more doable, yeah? Being an arm. But yeah, for me that strength, that ease, I don't know, comes more of like as being part of a Sangha, being part of an order, being part of a movement. Because it's not an individual issue or task, I suppose.
I mean, you can tell this, isn't it? I think in a way it doesn't matter because, to the extent that we're practicing. I think in a sense it doesn't matter because to the extent that we're practicing and that practice is having an effect, we're seeing that effect around us, and that's just a good thing in itself, so. We're making a better world. What more could we want? So, and then obviously we want to make that better and better. But I think it's important that we have this kind of feedback mechanism where we're noticing the effect of practice, and we're just saying, this is good. This is a good thing in itself, and that continuing will end up in enlightenment, But it's just about keeping practicing, and then we sort of see the effects, the fruits of it coming about, So, thanks.
Thanks. What else came up on your groups, Arthur? Or disagreements as well? Something that I'm upset. Yeah, go on.
we had a conversation about science and Buddhism, and
What science?
about science and Buddhism, and do you mind me saying? Yeah. So Shakijata was saying that sometimes that the idea of we can't prove enlightenment or something like that, or science kind of gets in the way of undermines our faith in a way, And I was saying that in a way science has got nothing to do with enlightenment. It's about enlightenment's about ethics, the world of ethics. So science is what we call third person evidence. We have to prove something to a third party. Whereas with Buddhism, we've only got to prove it to ourselves. We have faith in something because of reason, experience, and intuition that it works. So it can be a distraction to think it's got to be proven, and that's just a different form of religion, which is like scientism, which is like believing that technology will save us. Well, it won't, Well, that's the Buddhist view. It won't. We have to overcome it through overcoming craving and hatred and delusion. So yeah. Anyway, it was an interesting chat. Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, I take a lot of my from the last years, you would know. I take a lot of my cues from philosophy from a guy called Ian McGilchrist. A guy. I have mentioned it one or twice. He says that mentions that there's 4 ways into truth, 4 ways into understanding or knowledge. Those being reason, science, imagination, and intuition. And these are 4 valid ways to come about or bring about knowledge, to ourselves, to society, but that they also, but they do need to work with each other, and they're not, that they're not the risk of just relying on one particular one will be partial, incomplete, bias, and so we need to kind of exercise both, well, all of them four, really. I guess as a Buddhist, one can approach Buddhism in a quite almost scientific way as well. I think that's one of the things that I found very appealing of that the Buddha would be very appealing to empirical experiment, if you want, actually, like, this is the teaching, this is the theory, go and test it yourself, That's almost very kind of scientific approach, if you want, like, that's the theory, that's the operating hypothesis, go and test it with your own experience, with your own skills, with your own tools, and meet knowledge that way, in a way. But I guess, what you pointed to, even within science, I suppose there's some things that are hypotheses that get taken as dogmas, and that's where it becomes a bit religious, isn't it? There is aspect, and all scientists are like that, but there is science which is very dogmatic, and jumps into conclusions that are unscientific, like materialism, which is a philosophical position. No. Materialism, which is a philosophical position, not a truly scientific, provable. It's a hypothesis, but if when it becomes a dogma, it's limiting even science itself. But anyway, that's probably another day's. That's another workshop, yeah. But I also didn't want to fully antagonize science, but just it is an important way into understanding, into knowledge, but as a soul way, we should be careful about not being dogmatic and narrow-minded in our understanding and application of science, actually. Yeah.
I think one thing I've really learned from this afternoon, I want to go away and think about, is just to reflect more on times that I really do feel as though I've had some sort of insight or clarity or heightened sense of being. To reflect more on how that came about, and to bring it about more. Thank you.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, something I haven't talked about, but one of my Sangharakshita talks around faith, or Shraddha. Faith is not a very good word for it, but Shraddha is this. It's almost kind of that responsiveness, and translates Shraddha as our own capacity or ability or responsiveness to the transcendental in the universe that's coming from the transcendental within us. So we could talk in terms of, the sense of awakening, our own potential of awakening, responding to the existence and the potential of awakening in the universe as a whole. I guess that might be also a helpful way of approaching awakening as not just as a purely personal potential, but it's just as a identifying it and accepting and even cultivating our natural responsiveness and desire for awakening. So, and that is not our own, or it's not uniquely our own. It's not. It is part of being alive. It's actually what brings life about. Life is is a drive itself to growth, towards light. There's what brings life about is its own. Life wants to grow and be awake and being fully realized. Evolution, is part of. It drives life. In order, so we just need to kind of identify it, accept it, and let it do its thing in a way. It doesn't need, and it's not necessarily an individual effort. It is within life. So there's an aspect about that, I suppose, just on identifying and realizing that it's present, and just letting it manifest. Which I think that's when we talk about the bodhicitta. That's why I think I like that language in a way of bodhicitta, which is like if it's like an ever-present, constant. If on of life, the bodhicitta is not. It's not your bodhicitta or my bodhicitta. There is a bodhicitta that we kind of wanna let it flow, if you want. It maybe kind of gets obscured and blocked by our own greed and hatred, our own even lack of confidence, our own. Lack of understanding, it might stop the flow, might just like shake it, might block it in a way. It's more like if we can just contact the stream, if you want that will. I wish I knew the poem, but there's a poem by Bhante. It's called The Wind, when he's talking about his own. His experience of that will to enlightenment. Does someone know it by heart? The wind? Something like the wind was within my cell. When I was young, it drove me mad, pushed me around. And now that I'm older, it just drives me still. Is breath my breath? Is will my will? It's an aspect of. It's both within reality and within oneself. And like breath, what is breath? But it's not my breath. Air is not your air. It's just something you kind of somehow individually manifest, but it's not yours to take, but it's just yours to do. Yeah. So we'll finish with a bit of meditation after all these words for the last hour. Thank you, Gasusha. Before I forget to thank Gasusha, just stepped in the very last minute to do the tech support. So thank you, Gasusha. So it's quite a traditional Buddhist practice to do the Buddha Nusati, to sit with the presence, or to recollect the characteristics or the existence of awakening. So what I'll do is read the Buddha Vandana, that was part of the Triratna Vandana. And then I might chant it in Pali, and we can, if you know it, you can join me, and we'll just do the Buddha, the Buddha part. And then I just want us to sit with awakening in whatever way. So if we want to kind of sit, just imaginatively, we can go as much as, maybe I'll explain it then. I'll just lead us a little bit through it. First, I'll just read you the Buddha Vandana. Such indeed is he, the richly endowed, the free, the fully and perfectly awake, equipped with knowledge and practice, they happily attained. knower of the worlds, guide unsurpassed of men to be tamed, the teacher of gods and men, the awakened one richly endowed. All my life I go for refuge to the awakened one, to all the awakened of the past, to all the awakened yet to be, to all the awakened that now are. My worship flows unceasingly. No other refuge than the awake. Refuge supreme is there for me. Oh, by the nature of this truth, may grace abound and victory. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Iti piso bhagava araham samma sambuddho vijacharana sampanno sugato lokavidu anuttaro Bodhisattva sadati sata deva manusanam buddho bhagavati buddham jivata paryantam saranam gacchami yeche buddha atita cha yeche buddha anagata pachupanna cheye buddha aham bandhami sabbada nati me saranang anyam buddho me saranam varang hetena sacha vajena hotu me jaya mangalam. So bringing about your own, your awareness, your own sense of presence in your body and your psyche. And just placing ahead of you, in front of you, that you're facing both physically, psychically, emotionally, awakening. In whatever shape, body or symbol you connect with, or it manifests in your imagination, or it has done in the past. But just try to sense the presence, the existence of awakening. Placing yourself in relationship to it. Trying to do that free from judgment, just receptive and curious. Where there's a strong pull towards awakening, or very subtle or even non-existent. Whether there's a responsiveness or a frustration. Whether it brings a sense of inadequacy or a longing, or even confusion. Noticing where your relationship with awakening is clearer or brighter. Whether it's a concept, a symbol, a shape, a gesture, an experience, a sound, a color. Just rest your attention there. Just experiencing, feeling that relationship. However subtle or strong. And you may want to set a resolution or an intention of trying to clarify, strengthen your relationship with awakening. Hopefully you may have got some glimpse of how to do that, or where you might be, or where it has been. Maybe it's to remember, or to cultivate it, if it hasn't been fully present just yet. So you may want to aspire to, again, clarify and strengthen your relationship with awakening. And we'll do that for the benefit of all beings. Allowing that force for good in the world, that light of awakening, to shine brighter, be more present in our lives, in our culture, in our Sangha. And with that spirit, we'll transfer the merit and self-surrender in call and response. May the merit gained in my acting thus go to the alleviation of the suffering of all beings. My personality throughout my existences, my possessions, and my merit in all three ways. I give up without regard to myself, for the benefit of all beings. Just as the earth and other elements are serviceable in many ways to the infinite number of beings inhabiting limitless space, so may I become that which maintains all beings, situated throughout space, so long as all have not attained to peace. Thank you all for joining me this afternoon, and enjoy the rest of your weekend.